Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Zach Drew.
And I'm Andrew Bellers.
Can I tell you what I think is a little unnerving? Seriously, no matter how many times I hear about it, it's China's social credit score for their 1.4 billion citizens. Think of it like a report card, and your grade is determined by everything. You say, you do, you post, you buy, you go, in the physical world and in the digital world. It's unnerving, right? And it's really, really cool if it would be a movie. It would make for a great sci-fi film. But whenever these things start to take place in the real world, it just gets kind of scary. But something that Americans don't know is that it's happening in the United States. I don't mean it's coming and it'll be, rolled out in the next 10 or 15 years type of scenario, okay? I mean it is here now. And it has already begun to be implemented. It's called your ESG score, Environmental Social Governance Score. Now, many of you haven't even heard of it. And to speak frankly, there are going to be many people that will look around in 10 years, look around the world, and they're going to wonder to themselves, how could it have come to this? And it's because they are sleeping. ESG scores will be one of the many things coming that truly has the potential to destroy America completely. The major news story we'll be covering this week is titled 16 State Treasurers Threaten Banks That Divest from Fossil Fuels. It has everything to do with your ESG. It's the leading story of this week. I absolutely believe after listening to today's show that you will be nodding your head in agreement. Before we get into the content of the show, I want to talk about how our fundraising is going. I want to say that we still have an incredible distance to go.
Yeah.
Okay? But I do want to just say, before I tell you our current need, I want to give a special thank you to those that gave this week towards our fundraising goals. That being Gary and Janny, thank you. Rita and Kay and Arlene, thank you. And even Kay and Arlene, they are monthly supporters of this ministry. But they gave in addition to their monthly support just so that it could go towards our fundraising. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
A special thanks to Luke and Sean and Joanne, who is now actually given twice.
Wow.
And Larry and Rosalind. Thank you so much for getting involved. Everything we do here at this ministry, we do not have sponsors, right? We are 100% just viewer supported. So if you like the content and you don't support us, then you won't receive the content because we will go and find other jobs, other things to do. And I do not believe that that's going to happen.
No.
The Lord has been so miraculous, so divine. I mean, truly divine in just what he's done here, how he set it up, how he called us to this ministry, how he called us to be teammates in this thing. It's truly been an amazing journey. And so we have just over a month to go, and we need to still raise just over $40,000, okay? Now, I want you to know that no matter what, we will be staying on the PTL television network through Comcast cable.
Yeah.
So we're going to stay there no matter what. But the vast majority of our viewing audience is on DirecTV. And we desperately want to stay there. We believe that we are supposed to stay there. And I really believe that if we can raise this money, that we will actually be going. So everybody that's watching on CTN, I got questions in the mail this week, and make this very clear. Everyone that is watching on DirecTV through CTN, if we can raise this money, we are going to try and go from being on CTN to WHT, which literally only means this. We go from channel 376 to channel 367.
Yeah.
But we still need to raise over $40,000 to get there. Please get involved. A little less than a month, or a little more than a month to go. This is the time for year-end giving. Pray to the Lord. What is a generous amount that you can go to keep us on the air? We'll be right back with the meat of today's show. Okay, let's get to the meat of the content for today's program.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the Chinese social credit score briefly because it lays the foundation for what is being unrolled in America, which is the ESG. We've talked about the ESG before. If you haven't seen that show, make sure you go on our YouTube and Facebook page and watch it. And then we're going to be giving a brand new update concerning the ESG with an article that is titled 16 State Treasurers Threaten Banks That Divest from Fossil Fuels. It's huge, people. Yeah. It's a big deal. But by way of review, let's talk about the social credit score in China. So what is the China social credit score? Everyone is assigned a number, okay? Think about like almost like a credit report. But it's a report card where every daily activity in the digital and the physical is constantly monitored, it's evaluated with absolutely insane ramifications. If you do the simplest things that the government does not deem worthy of its Chinese citizens, you better have the right religion, the right views towards the government. You better have the right friends on social media platforms that also have good scores. You need to be able to shop in the right stores and read the right books. Better do as you're told or you won't. You'll be restricted from shopping at your favorite stores. You can't even do things like, this would affect me. You can't do things like play at certain golf courses, right? And I make a joke about something very serious. But really, you will be banned from your favorite restaurants. Your kids will be denied access to a good education. If your parents have a poor credit score, your kids won't get into certain schools. And it's not because they are indecent, bad human beings. It's possibly because they're a Christian. Yeah. It's possibly because someone on their Facebook, like what's their social platform called? I can't remember.
Is it Tencent or
it's something like essentially that. Their Facebook. If somebody that was their friend on Facebook talked poorly about the government, their score goes down. It doesn't even necessarily have to do with you. It's just even who you associate yourself with.
Yeah, and the ramifications are huge. I mean, you could be banned from leaving the country. You could even be banned from taking a train just to the next city. And in China, you could literally find yourself in a concentration camp.
That's true. And once again, we have shows on that. Go back to our YouTube or Facebook and take a listen to that. And they have banned tens of millions of Chinese citizens from simply taking the train to a neighboring town.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. Now, let's move into, by way of review, the ESG. I want to play a 4-minute clip for you. It's of Glenn Beck. I have a great deal of respect for Glenn Beck. And he's explaining in this video how the Great Reset may soon influence every financial aspect of your life, from car loans, business loans, mortgages, and literally so much more. It's all thanks to the partnership between America's biggest banks and the federal government. This is all about ESG, people. You just stay tuned. And it's also work between global groups like the World Economic Forum. And it's just begun. The Heartland Institute's Justin Haskins describes how Merrill Lynch now assigns ESG credit scores for customers. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, Justice, Governance. It may not affect you yet, but soon a low score based on things like the products you buy or how much electricity you use could significantly impact your life.
Now, earlier this week, I told you that a friend of mine sent me something that they got from Merrill Lynch. Well, that friend of mine is Justin Haskins. And
thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome.
I'm glad to be your friend.
I love that. So tell me about what they got from Merrill Lynch.
Right. So a coworker of mine logs into his Merrill Lynch account. Not a rich guy, just a regular guy. Got his 401k in Merrill Lynch. Logs into his Merrill Lynch account, and up pops this really friendly, amazing notice that you've got your very own ESG score, your environment, social, and governance score. Scores in all three categories and an overall score. And unfortunately, my degenerate friend, 4.7 overall score out of 10. So not doing very
Not
well
doing-
on the ESG scale.
This is akin to you getting a score. You think you have a score of maybe 700, for your credit score, and all of a sudden you find out that you have a score of 300. What are you going to be able to buy? How are you going to get a loan? You're going to be able to buy a car, a house, or anything else. This credit score is going through the financial sector and the banks, and you'll understand why this is so bad here in a second. So when you get this, it is based on things from Merrill Lynch on the companies that you are buying. So if you want to buy stock and you think guns are going to be great and they're going to go up, they have a very low, what's called ESG score, environmental, social justice, and governance score. And so they have a very low rating, which means the banks are very unlikely to give them any money. So you can say, I really believe in this technology, but if it's not politically correct, it will have a low score. That will punish that company in financing. But you say, screw it, I believe in this company. You now get a low ESG score. And they say this is just to help you invest. But that's not what it is. That's the happy face. The other side of that is it's your score. So the bank now looks at you and says, well, you have an ESG score of 4. You're not playing along with the environment. You're not for social justice. How can I trust that you're going to do something that is worthwhile for this collective community? So now you don't get loans. Now, the overall score, you're going to be graded, and your risk to the bank is assessed based on things and services you buy. This is from their report. The things and services you buy. Well, are you a member of Blaze TV?
Ugh.
Are you?
I hope not.
Are you? Have you bought a gun recently? Have you done? Are you collected food storage? What are you talking about? Things and services that you buy, how much electricity you use, if you own a business, how much travel is involved, how much do your employees commute, or can they all work from home? How many buildings do you own? How many company vehicles are there? What do you invest in? Now, if you answer those incorrectly, you're going to be giving a very low score. Now, it's not going to affect me until you read their own documents at the bank. In their own disclosures, personal mortgages, commercial real estate, business loans, listed equity, energy finance, car loans, every aspect of your life you will be cut out of. You won't be getting a car loan. This is just the beginning.
Pretty shocking, right?
Yeah.
ESG,
No kidding.
already being rolled out. This is a social credit score, like the one that's being implemented in China. And how long exactly do you think that it will take to trickle down to us? Because right now, the main people that are being affected by the ESG are businesses, they're
Right.
companies that are being denied investment opportunities, that are being denied loans by the big banks.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to it. It's to cripple and to decapitate America
Yes.
by destroying our natural, the ability to make money and to be self-sustainable by natural resources. Oh, you have too big of a carbon footprint. These other things. It's to restrict the businesses. But you will, well, I don't know what I would call you, just an ignorant person if you do not believe that this will trickle down to you. People, it's coming. And it's coming to you and I in the next few years. It's already affecting the big businesses. Let's now get to the main article for the day. It's an incredible thing. I have such a great deal of respect for a man by the name of Riley Moore. He's West Virginia's state treasurer, okay? And he is leading a coalition of 16 states, and they are threatening banks that play politics by refusing to lend money to fossil fuel companies. Moore says West Virginia and the other states are not going to take it anymore. So the coalition of 16 states led by West Virginia will take the fight directly to the lenders who are bowing to pressure from woke, pimple-faced millennials who grew up watching and believing Captain Planet cartoons. The coalition sent an open letter to the banking industry with the following threat. This is huge. Okay, bold it, underlined it. This is where the money's at, so to speak. Well, actually, even quite literally. The states that make up the coalition, the 16 states, will stop doing business with depositing money into banks and other institutions that boycott investing in coal, oil, natural gas, and other fossil fuels. Collectively, the coalition represents more than $600 billion in public assets under management.
Wow.
Banks should be frightened.
Yeah, no kidding.
16 states are sticking it to the man and saying big banks they're literally just being possessed by the federal government. The federal government, being the big demon, is possessing the banking institution, and the big banks are doing the federal government's bidding.
Yeah, because the federal government's saying, we're not going to do business with you, big banks, if you don't toe the line.
That's exactly right. In a press release and video released Monday, Riley Moore said this: I'm announcing a multi-state coalition of state treasurers and state financial officers to push back against the woke capitalism that is happening in this country right now. He continues by saying, currently we have banks that are denying capital to the fossil fuel industry around the country. Coal, gas, and oil are critical industries in our country. As a coalition, we've come together to say we're not going to take it anymore. At that moment, cue the band. We're not going to take it. And have Trump dancing.
Oh, don't get us flagged.
Yeah,
You're
right.
Kick us off YouTube.
Further, we have the responsibility as fiduciaries and stewards of more than $600 billion to ensure that our financial service providers are free from harmful conflicts of interest that could jeopardize state funds. Any financial institution that has adopted policies aimed at diminishing a large portion of our state's revenue has a major conflict of interest against holding, maintaining, or managing those funds. If you live in a conservative state, call your governor, call the treasurer's office.
Yeah.
Say, get in line, step up. 16 states are leading this coalition right now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
If they don't succeed, it is literally one of the many things that will destroy America. And they're refusing these companies, and many of these states like West Virginia, who rely so heavily on natural resources like coal,
Right.
because their ESG score is too low, they are being denied investment opportunities. They're being denied loans. And so they're saying, hey, guess what? $600 billion is not going to you anymore. And I'm telling you right now that if you bank at this ministry banks at a small bank.
Yep.
My mortgage for my personal home is through a different small bank. I would encourage you, I didn't want to ask you on air, do you big bank?
Do I have a big bank? I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Get up. I'm doing the show by myself. Leave. I'm being serious. No, I'm just
All
kidding.
right, well,
No,
see you guys.
Stop it. No, Andrew, you're funny. But seriously, do you realize that you're going to be impacted one day?
Yeah.
You really will. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, really. I mean, if you want to go and get another car loan, another mortgage payment, if you're at these big banks and they deem, your car to be too big of a gas guzzler, you will be refused that loan.
Well, luckily my house is in a small bank, so.
It is through a small bank?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. But really, if you bank at big banks, you need to really truly consider moving to a smaller bank that doesn't enforce these evil practices like ESG. Biden has nominated Amavara as controller of currency, a job that involves regulating banks during a confirmation hearing. It was revealed that she made comments in February talking about the possibility of coal, oil, and natural gas companies going bankrupt, calling them troubled industries. A lot of the smaller players in that industry are going to probably go bankrupt in short order. That's what she said. And then she said this, at least we want them to go bankrupt if we want to tackle climate change, right? Can you believe that? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And yet it's happening. You know, we actually talked about this just last week on the show, even, and how John Kerry agrees with her, except that he even went further to provide a date for their goal, which is 2030. People, they are building a new world. They're building a new world. In April, Biden announced a goal to reduce greenhouse emissions by between 50% and 52% of 2005 levels by 2030. It's 2030, 2030, 2030. At a virtual summit with world leaders on the changing global climate earlier this year, Biden told world leaders that the goal is for the U.S. to be carbon neutral by 2035. During the United States Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland, 2 weeks ago, Kerry told Bloomberg by 2030 in the United States, we won't have coal. And how will they accomplish it? One major way is what we are seeing here, the federal government using evil banking industry to do its bidding. And praise God for men like Riley Moore, who actually believe in the Constitution, actually believe in state sovereignty, who actually are willing to stand up against big government, right?
Right.
That's amazing today. And let me tell you right now that this ESG, like we played in the video in the beginning of the show, in the bank's own disclosures, it states your ESG score will affect personal mortgages, commercial real estate, business loans, listed equity, energy finance, car loans. It will affect every area of your life. And let me tell you right now that this is absolutely connected to the Build Back Better program.
That's right. And if you haven't heard of what Build Back Better is, it's not just Biden's, campaign slogan. It's so much bigger than that. Build Back Better is a slogan that was adopted by the World Economic Forum to introduce their Great Reset initiative. And we've covered this before, but just to reiterate, the Great Reset is not a conspiracy theory. Go to the World Economic Forum's website. You'll see it in big, bold letters. That is their initiative. They launched it in June of last year. It's a real thing.
Yeah, they posted. Yeah, you can read it. You can read it yourself.
Exactly, and this is what it is. It's their global plan to reinvent capitalism, whatever that means. We know what it means. And to usher in this world into a socialistic utopia. This is an article from the World Economic Forum from July of last year. Here's the title. To build back better, we must reinvent capitalism. Here's how. And here's just an excerpt from that article. A true recovery from COVID-19 will not be about putting things back together the way they were. We need to build back better, to reset. If we are to address the deep systemic vulnerabilities the pandemic has exposed, for businesses, building back better is about much more than corporate social responsibility. It's about truly aligning markets with the natural social and economic systems on which they depend. It is about building real resilience, driving equitable. That word equitable.
That's a special word, isn't it?
That means social justice.
Exactly.
This is we're gonna read between the lines. I'm gonna explain these terms for you. Equitable, that's social justice, and sustainable growth, that's climate change. That's the sustainable development goals of Agenda 2030. That's climate change, and reinventing capitalism itself. That's socialism. So this is ESG, and it's the Great Reset. Build Back Better is the Great Reset. The Build Back Better initiative was launched at the G7 summit in June of this year, which, Biden was at.
Yep.
And his version of the Build Back Better plan is one of the first steps in administering the Great Reset in America. This is just a rebranding of the Great Reset. This is all we're seeing. And it's specifically a bill. It's an act. The Build Back Better Act was passed by the House in November November 19th of this year. And Chuck Schumer's trying to get on the Senate House floor for a vote by December 13th. So he's trying to get this passed through before Christmas. So this is urgent, and this is what it is. The Build Back Better Act allows taxpayer-funded abortions by excluding the long-standing Hyde Amendment. So the Hyde Amendment has said, for decades in this country, that the federal government cannot give money to abortion suppliers. Federal money can't go to Planned Parenthood.
Right. Yes.
They're getting rid of that. So they can now start giving money to your taxpayer money. Your money that you're giving the federal government can go to abortions now.
And this is them building back better.
Right. We're not going back to the way it used to be. We're forging, a
And
new
it's
path.
better. And it's better.
Right. This is what else it does. It perpetuates labor shortages by continuing welfare benefits for able-bodied adults without work requirements at a time when there are over 10.4 million job openings. And for those of you who have been keeping up with the news, all of this breakdown of the supply chain that you're seeing, all of these cargo ships that are backed up at the ports right now, which is also another thing that's driving inflation. One of the key factors that has caused that is the massive labor shortages. Here, just keep going through the act. It's expanding the worst parts of Obamacare. It's prioritizing the Green New Deal initiatives. Remember, that's the one that AOC drafted. The Green New Deal is basically Agenda 2030. All of this is connected. All of it's linked together. It imposes over $400 billion in small business tax hikes. Think about that. We're in the worst economy in over a decade, and they're going to start hitting small businesses. Impedes domestic energy and mineral production. That's why you're seeing these 16 states coming against this. Increasing our dependencies on resources supplied by OPEC, Russia, and China. It includes a tax on natural gas, raising the cost of utility bills, and placing 90,000 jobs at risk. It increases corporate taxes by $800 billion, where multiple analyses have found that a sizable portion of the increase will fall on workers and lead to higher prices. All of this put together, what this is going to do is it's going to cripple our economy. It's going to cripple America, and that's what they want. They have to destroy the current system so that they can rebuild the new world from its ashes. That's what they want. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that research. That's good.
You're welcome.
Listen, we are totally out of time. And I just want to end with this scripture. It says this in Matthew chapter 7, 24 through 27. Because what we're talking about, we are talking about storms that are coming. And you need to be prepared. And the best way to be prepared is by being in your word. Now it's like, well, for all the preppers, and I'm a prepper, and I get it, I understand. But if we don't have Jesus, then we don't have anything. Physical food storage and water filtration systems are very important. And I have all of them. I have all the things that you need. But it all pales in comparison to having Jesus and His Word inside of my heart. Storms are coming. And Jesus says, when everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. Is your life built upon the rock? Are you hearing the words of Jesus and applying them? Are you in your word on a daily basis? Because whenever the rain falls, and it's about to fall, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, it didn't fall, and neither will you if your life is built upon the rock. That rock is Jesus. And there's storms coming, but this is a word for many of you just simply watching the show right now, that you are in a personal storm. If you are in a personal storm, I'm telling you right now, you need to be clinging to Jesus. You need to be devouring the Word. There is something so supernatural that takes place, even a natural washing as you read the Word of God. I don't think we'll understand till we get to heaven how critical our time with the Lord is on a daily basis. Because maybe many of you are in a storm right now, and you feel like your life is crumbling. And maybe some of you are watching, and in the future, your life will crumble when the storms come. And the reason why is because you didn't build your life upon Jesus. Because it says here, and everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like the foolish man who built his house on sand. And when the storms came, when the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house, it fell, and great was the fall of it. Cling to Jesus. Now, whatever storms you're going through, if life is good, it's great, cling to Him. Doesn't matter. In the future, if life is good, you're going great, cling to Him. When the storms of the future come, cling to Him. It's all about Jesus. We'll see you next week.